Okay, so I wanted to come on tonight and talk about Tory Lanez getting 10 years in prison when he should have gotten 22. And talk about this Kelsey girl because I keep hearing about her. Now, I gotta say, like, I wasn't following the case that much, but I do, like, I truly believe in justice in, like, its forms. Like, the justice system should be working um well. I saw, so I really appreciate Candace Owens covering this and bringing some like just rationality to it, but it was just hilarious. Like I don't do Twitter at all, but I also don't follow like stupid black people or like urban black people, so I wouldn't have caught any of those tweets anyway. But man, like the black, this is what I'm saying. Most the tweets that she was reading, and go watch her video if you want to see some of these tweets and just see what these people, their opinions are. But if I had to classify them as well, the way that she said it, she was like, if you live in an urban neighborhood or something, you should just leave. I agree. I think I made a whole other video that was like, if you're black and you live in like Oakland, you should move out. If you're black and you live in New York City, you should leave. Because you'll never get justice. And the weird part about it, especially if you're a black woman, the target on your back is actually coming from black men. Like black men are the group, the particular population that is most likely going to take you out or ruin your life, or it's going to be other men of color. It seems like society will have you believing that it's like the white community that's out to like bother you in some way, but for the most part, like they just don't care, not even in a funny way. Like they don't care. They're like casual observers and like passive aggressive mimickers. That's a big thing. So like mocking black culture. And the thing that I just want to continue to point out is like whatever culture that is, the people who are supportive of Tory Lanez, all the rap music that's coming out, like I am black, but like those people don't represent me. Candace Owens is also black, but Candace Owens also does not represent me. But I would say if I had to pick a side, I would pick Candace over like the people who are supporting Tory Lanez any day, because there's just like logic and justice, right? And if you want to live in any civil society, you need to be on that part of like the spectrum. Um, but let's go back for a second because I did want to talk about Kelsey. I'll make a whole other video where I talk about my opinions on Kylie. Um, but Kelsey, I think, is very interesting, mostly because Kelsey, if I'm not mistaken, was Meg the Stallion's best friend who was in the car with her when she was shot by Tory Lanez. And when she got shot, it sounds like when Meg the Stallion got shot, so it sounds like Tory Lanez tells Meg the Stallion to get out of the car. This is on video, and tells her, he says, dance, bitch. And then he starts shooting bullets. He takes out a real gun with real bullets and starts shooting it at her feet. And then a bullet hits her. And Kelsey's in the car. This is her best fucking friend, is in the car and texts someone else at that moment and says, Meg just got shot. And the weird part about this is, so this is like well documented. This is actually used. The text message is used as evidence in court. All of these things, and still, Kelsey, who is Meg the Stallion's best friend, refuses to testify in court and abandons her friendship altogether as Meg the Stallion is shot. That the reason that I created this YouTube channel, the reason that I like, even when I really don't feel like it, I don't want to come on, I don't want to say shit, I continue to like come online as I am and try to just talk about what's going on in my life, even when it isn't like super good, is because I want to humanize myself and all my problematic opinions and whatever perception that you have of me. Like, this is me still. Okay. And I think that there are so many people in the black community who don't understand the dehumanizing process that Megan the Stallion went through. I think she wrote Traumazine, but I think Meg is like really in the beginning of her healing phase, and she is very far from recovery. She was actually so traumatized she couldn't even show up to the court hearing. To the hearing, she couldn't even show up. It was too. She said it was too frightening for her to be in the same room as Tory Lanez. Reading some of the tweets that are coming from the Black community about how they're comparing Meg's very small, like, he should have gotten 22 years. Like, he deserved 22 years. Given the severity of the crime and the three, like, so first of all, he had a, what is it called? An unlicensed weapon. That was the first thing. There was something else about, like, what is it, like, misuse of a firearm. And then there's the actual assault with a deadly weapon. Those are 3 charges that he was found guilty on, all 3. Even though he pled not guilty, and there's a ton of evidence that proves that he did it. Those are 3 different charges. But he only got 10 years. The normal sentence for that is even longer, I think, than 22 years. But that was, I think, or what was it? Someone, one of the sides tried to argue for like 13 years. That was like another minimum. But he got it even lower than that. He only got 10 years. And people were talking about, like, oh, well, you know, I've been stabbed. And they try to compare it to something that's worse. They always try to find some example of someone who has it worse. This isn't the oppression Olympics. Nobody should be shooting Black women ever. Nobody should be stabbing Black women ever. Nobody should be making rap songs about Black women being stabbed or raped or killed or anything. They shouldn't even be on YouTube making like derogatory videos about OnlyFans Black women. They shouldn't be making really any women. All of this behavior is really toxic for not just men, but women too. And to see women, other Black women too, get on here and like understand the severity of, first of all, the crime, the punishment, the harm, the betrayal. Like, Kelsey betrayed her in her like time of fucking need. If there's ever if you get shot and your best friend doesn't show up for you, that bitch was so fake the whole time. You should burn all the photos of you guys together. Like, you, that she was never your friend. That is not a friend. That is like the Drake quote, fake friend 101. Like, that is a really, really awful person. And I think there's just so much fakeness, so much like such a lack of integrity in the Black community altogether, that like, how are people talking about men shooting each other? Like, this is what I mean. The bar is just so low. It's just so low. Like, when you really think about the fact that he wrote whole rap songs about like shooting her, other people wrote rap songs about shooting. I saw DJ Academics did a live where he was like analyzing how old this disgusting man will be when he gets out, about how he should get married. He was like literally talking about after he gets out, how he has all these plans and how now he can gain his citizenship. What? Like, these are the immigrants we're bringing over? Like, DJ Crackademics? Like, take his citizenship away. This is why society is bad. Like, he is just as bad as the OnlyFans girls. They're all in the same boat of like just urban toxicity. Like, it's really bad. It's really bad. And Meg Thee Stallion was shot. She did get shot in her foot, but just imagine, like, what do you think if let's just say if it's true that he didn't mean to shoot her, okay, then let's just say that he had gotten a little bit more unlucky and the bullet would have hit one of her major like arteries in her leg and then she bled out and died. Because that definitely could have happened. That was actually very likely. It sounded he shot off a couple of rounds. Only a few bullets or something actually hit her, but he was shooting, right? Like, that's why he was found guilty of one of the charges that was like being irresponsible with a deadly weapon. That's a real charge. That's what really happened. And just because you know someone in the hood who got stabbed in or someone who did some stabbing and got away. I'm sorry. I'm just going back to what I literally I was trying to understand. I was like, there's got to be some black person, some black male who has an opinion on that. Some black male who's not gay. And this morning I was listening to DJ Academics, right? And here's the point that he made. He said, he literally says this. So he's like, if you this is why I say, I'm quoting him. He says, this is why I say, if you kill someone, you should murder all the witnesses. Because if even one witness, because there were two witnesses that saw what happened. And so those two witnesses were pointing at him on the stand. And that's why we all knew that he was going to get time. So at no point was he actually trying to basically say that, oh no, he shouldn't be prosecuted or be guilty because he did it or not. That wasn't even a part of the question. No, fuck that. He was basically saying like, oh, well, are you going to be found guilty? Because he's getting time in jail. That's the only reason now that this is important. So imagine all of the black women who are like, because if you didn't know this, actually, I think it's the number one killer of black women is domestic violence right now in America, followed by childbirth. Those are the top killers of black. And then I think it's like diabetes or hypertension. Like those are the killers of black women in America. So, but domestic violence is pretty high. So a lot of people are being killed by their spouses. Their spouses are just doing all type of crazy shit, and that's actually most common in the developing world. But obviously, most of the people in the developing world are brown or black, and yeah, they're dying by the hands of their men. That is a real issue, and there aren't like women who are dead after domestic violence disputes. Unfortunately, those women are not able to make YouTube videos and explain to you what happened. If you're watching this, you didn't understand that. Let me tell you, okay? Like, when you die because your like poor husband murders you because he gets drunk at the bar and decides to like punch you in the face, and then you hit the wall and die of a concussion. Unfortunately, darling, like you don't come back from that, and you're not able to make YouTube videos. This is what I mean. Like sometimes you make decisions and they end your life. And black women are walking a very fine line of like any wrong decision could lead you to death. Having a friend like Kelsey could cause your death. Dating someone like Tory Lanez could cause your death. Being a black woman in America and being stalked by DJ Academics could also cause your death. I mean, there's just so many things. I'm surprised there's any of us left. But the fact that, hopefully you guys we've found each other some kind of way and lived through all of this madness. Like, I will briefly just summarize some of my big major ideas here about Kylie Jenner for a second, because I think that there's some really weird parts about whiteness that this is why we can't have conversations about womanhood and beauty or femininity. Like, I can't have the same conversation about any of those things as a white woman, and I will never do that, and I will never encourage any black, brown, biracial person to do that. You have to let them have their things, and you have to like really like step away and just define something for yourself. Start with your own blood and your heart and your cells and your own photographs, and like you're literally create a foundation of beauty that has nothing to do with them. This is why like I don't wear their brands, I don't wear their cosmetics, I don't follow them. Like just nothing. Like the only time that I ever support anything that has to do with beauty anything is if there's like some black woman that's being celebrated, and I have had to move that way out of necessity because I know unfortunately that I am fucking a role model. This is so sad. Like I'm like the worst role model, but just because I'm like I've lived through shit that basically everyone else who's been through what I've been through has died. I'm the only one left, so like I have kind of an obligation to speak on it, and that's a lot of pressure. But I couldn't ever imagine some other black woman going in as blindly as I did with the lack of support. Like the same situation, I actually feel like I finally understand that Meg the Stallion went through with her friend Kelsey. I went through something very similar, and I almost lost my life. And it was very, very sad and like really heartbreaking to like just realize that like that few people care, and like the society at large has no intent or compassion toward, first of all, like my life, or really the life of like those who I care about. Like I realized how disposable I was, how disposable my accomplishments were. It was like all of the things that I believed in, I learned very quickly were meaningless in this society. And I mean like meaningless.